Okay, I suggest we start. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you could join us today for this webinar presented by goFLUENT and our customer Sibur on how to engage employees in online English learning and increase learning efficiency. I see there are quite a few attendees already, and more coming in every second. We are at over 150 already. We opened up the registration to 8 time zones, so here we should see people from UK, China, Poland, Belgium, Netherlands, Thailand, Switzerland, Kazakhstan, Serbia, Bulgaria, a lot from Russia, obviously. Again, thank you for connecting today. My name is Rinat Minulin, and I'm country manager for goFLUENT Russia and CIS countries. Just a little bit about goFLUENT for those who may not be familiar with us. goFLUENT has over 20 years of experience in helping enterprises accelerate the language learning skills of their workforce. And we do that through a fully digital solution that includes an e-learning portal, virtual classrooms, virtual one-on-one coaching sessions, to help improve language skills in English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Chinese, the major business languages that are required around the globe. So without any further delay, I hand it over to our speaker, Anastasia Zaretsskaya, the Learning and Development Manager at Sibur Corporation. If at any point of the presentation you have questions, please pop them in the question section in the right side of your screen, and we will address them by the end of the webinar. If by any chance we don't have a chance to answer all of them, we will contact you personally after the webinar. And also, please do not stress about taking notes, as the webinar will be recorded, and we will be sharing the recording with you shortly after. Anastasia, please, I'm giving the floor to you now.
Thank you very much, Rinat. Do you hear me well? Can I proceed? Do you hear me? So I guess
yes. We see coming messages that everything's okay. Please proceed, Anastasia.
Yes, everything's okay. So I'm glad to welcome everybody. And first of all, thank you for joining us. Добрый день, good afternoon, guten Tag, bonjour, buongiorno, buenos dias. Thank you very much for your interest. I'm working at Sibur company. We are a large petrochemical company in Russia. My name is Anastasia Zaretsskaya. I'm working for Corporate University, and at Corporate University, I'm responsible for the project of learning English. Today, the topic of my presentation is how to engage employees in online English learning and increase learning efficiency. And I would like briefly introduce my presentation and briefly indicate the challenges that we are facing before starting our project Sibur story. First of all, I would like to share with you how we set up the learning goals. I guess that this topic is very actual to everybody, for all companies who is launching this activity. Then also I would like to focus on what challenges we faced during our initiative. First of all, of course, as everybody, we started with the traditional face-to-face learning, and it was not always effective due to the high number of business trips and rescheduling all the time of the classes, and we were trying to find other solutions. And of course, we faced a lot of mental biases that block the employees from learning English. And also, one of the challenges was that the progress was quite slow in face-to-face learning, and due to the irregular classes, and that's why we started to finding out other instruments, and it was not enough just to find the online platform. We really created a great and great campaign, communication campaign, to engage the employees and trying to give them understanding that learning English is easy and fun. Before, so I'm trying to reach on the slide. Okay, before starting with the presentation, I would like briefly introduce our company. What is Sibur? To give you understanding, how do we work and what. So I can see that my camera is. I have to share my camera again. Sorry. To give you understanding, how large and how big our project. We are petrochemical producer in Russia and Eastern Europe. We are a large integrated company, and we are operating all over the Russia in more than 23 cities. Our geography is quite large. We are operating from east to west of Russia, and main our activities are located in Western Siberia. Our revenue in 2018 was $3.2 billion, and one of our highlight projects that launched last year was one of the main new production sites, Zapsipneftekhim, which is located in Tobolsk, which has the largest polyolefin capacity. It's considered top 5 in the world. To give you an understanding, this is a small map. You can see on your left. So you can see how large is our geography. And I have to say that the initiative of learning English was spread through all over the company, through all 25,000 employees. So you can imagine how big is it. Moreover, except operating all our production activities are located in Russia, but we also have foreign traded offices that are located in China, Turkey, in Europe, and few of our employees. We have small offices there, but several thousand employees are located overseas. I would like briefly also to show the small video about our company. We hope that it can run smoothly. So we produce the materials that are essential for the growth of world economy. This is the image of our plant. This is the locations where we operate. Most where is located our main plant. It's located in Western Siberia. So this is the picture how we produce the polyolefins in the market. So, and our project in Zapsik in Western Siberia have tripled our power capacity. And our goal is to enter not only European markets, but also the Eastern markets. So, and during the last 5 years, our EBITDA grew in 30%. And how do we create value? So we are leading petrochemical company in Russia and CRS. And we have our production sites close to our to the gas. So this was the brief introduction of our company. And now I would like to go smoothly to our project of learning English. So you can see that the project is was really large in numbers, and we were trying to set up the goals for 25 employees of who need to speak English. What is the project background? Sibur story, how we call our initiative of learning English in the company. First of all, we formulated the goals of why company need employees who speak English. First of all, our goal was based. Was based on our needs. And what were our needs? First of all, the company enters international markets, and due to our projects of construction projects of new production activities, we need to communicate with vendors, licenses, and our partners who provide the equipment, and of course to exchange the best practices. Initially, 3 years ago, we formulated the learning goal of English as 15% of our employees speak English at intermediate level. So it's about 5,000 people. But during our and we started to launch the face-to-face classes of English language. Of course, we find out that our learning activity was not very efficient. The progress was quite slow due to the high workload of our employees. And I have to say that most of the employees didn't have day-to-day practice of speaking English. They had practice of English quite occasionally. Most regular was once a month. And we were trying to find out what is wrong, or what we formulated wrong, because we were trying to give all the opportunities to the employees, but we didn't see the results. What we decided to do. Later on, I will return to the new goal and how we reformulated our learning goal. So after we found out that our in-class and face-to-face learning was not efficient enough, we started to find out alternative opportunities to learn English. And in the beginning of 2018, we launched the online platform goFLUENT. So we had a need to provide the opportunity of learning English to the employees who had very intensive schedule of business trips and who didn't have time to attend the face-to-face classes. And we promoted a goFLUENT platform on our corporate portal in our corporate social network as a great opportunity of self-learning. And during the first 5 months of launching the platform, we've seen that 5% of our employees, 1,300, registered on the platform. But we were not very happy with this result because we were thinking how to increase the number of active learners, because our initial goal was that about like at least 5,000 of people would have to be registered on the platform and to become the active learners. And as I mentioned to you, briefly, let's go back to our learning goal. We were always trying to challenge ourselves. Have we formulated our learning goal rightly or not? How we have to change it? And to redesign and to reformulate our learning goal, we decided to check our hypothesis, and we created a large communication campaign, Sibur story, using digital technology. Our communication campaign had 3 stages. First stage was research. Second stage was design itself, design of communication strategy based on several principles. And the third stage was realization of communication campaign. So we decided that we cannot design and basically immediately implement the communication campaign without the research, because first we have to understand the needs of our employees and to understand what was wrong. Because we as a company, we were thinking that we are providing all the benefits, all the opportunities that's really costly, this face-to-face learning, but something was wrong. And we first conducted the research. How we did it? So our research was based also in on three stages. First of all, we learned experience of benchmarks of other companies, mainly industrial companies all over the world, and companies that operate also in non-English speaking countries. We also were trying to study the popular myths and barriers of learning English. So this is our like a self-study. Second stage was in-depth interviews to check our initial hypothesis with our target audience. We picked up about 50 people from different locations, gender, age, different specialization, and conducted the interview. And later on, based on these 2 stages of research, we conducted a mass online survey to confirm our hypothesis that we formulated earlier. And the task of all this research was to define motivators and demotivators. And what was very interesting, what we found out, that mostly we as a company, we were focusing on the motivators, because we were thinking that it's a common understanding that English language is essential and it helps you to promote in the career, to communicate with the vendors, etc. But we as a company almost didn't focus on the demotivators. And thanks due to the research, we found out that most of our employees are very embarrassed in face-to-face learning, because they have a lot of embarrassment to ask the questions, because they don't want to be silly in eyes of their colleagues. They have a lot of barriers to start speaking because they have lack of the capacity of they don't have the practice, and they have lack of the capacity of speaking. Also, they have a lot of mental biases that they learned at school, that it's possible to learn English only in school ages, and later on you have to focus on your professional career, and it's too late to learn English. And this shed the light on the new insights for us as a company, that we have to work with these demotivators and to give understanding to our employees that we can make the benefits from these demotivators, and it's not easy, and to work with their peers. Moreover, during our research, we also found out that we have to set up the goal of learning English quite differentiating. That means that we have very different target audience, because we're a very large company geographically, also company in specialization, because most of our work of our employees have engineering and technical background, and we need to have different approach to them. For example, to the person who is working in the head office, who is responsible, for example, for finance or purchasing, and to the technical worker who is working, for example, on the plant, on our production site, and best in period, because they have absolutely different motivators and demotivators, and their capacity, time, and everything to progress in English language. That's why we understood that, first of all, we have to work with the fears, with the demotivators, and launch different instruments, different opportunities for different target audience. So this research was very, very helpful for us. As a second stage, so what we did with our findings, with our learnings after the research, we started to design the communication campaign, how to approach each our target audience, our employees. And for that, we used ATCAR model. So this is a model of 5 steps framework that help deal with people aspect of change management. So learning English, for them, it's a great change in their lives, in their capacity, in their new competencies. And once an individual has an understanding of why a change is needed, the next step is successful change is making a personal decision to support and to participate in this change. So it means that first we have to communicate why you need English, why you can be successful, because most of the people, they didn't believe that they can learn English because they have a lot of fears, demotivators, and mental biases. And approach, this model really helped us to design the successful campaign. The third stage of our design was to create the concept of our communication campaign. And we decided to be very creative, because we are trying to be very modern and cutting edge in choosing our learning methods, learning instruments, and of course approaching the audience in our communication. And we decided to create the portraits of target audience with self-identification. And now I would like to introduce you all these 4 heroes and briefly introduce why it was so important to our employees to see these heroes. We decided to introduce these heroes to make the self-identification and visualization. We choose 4 heroes. Why 4 heroes? Because we implying 4 skills of learning English: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And for that reason, we introduced 4 heroes, and we gave them the names. All names started with S. First hero is Sophia. She's Sibur learner, and we also wrote a legend to every hero that every target audience can find the self-identification with this hero. So Sophia is a young specialist, individualistic, introvert, and she prefers individual online classes. So she doesn't like group classes. Stepan, or in English Stefan, so Stepan is more Russian, it sounds more Russian. So he's very active, he's expert in production efficiency, he is participating in negotiations with the clients, he's very ambitious and very internationally oriented. So he's our future management, and I have to say that most of our employees from the headquarters were identifying themselves with Stepan. Next hero is Sasha. Sasha has the capacity of writing, and she's the manager of finance department. And the target audience who were identifying themselves with Sasha were young professional women with children. Why with children? We also created this legend because we have a large campaign of taking care about children of employees, and we made this legend that Sasha has also a daughter to whom she has to help with homework in English. So, and this legend worked really very good. And the last hero, and one of our important heroes, was Sergej. So this is a patronymic name, Russian patronymic name, and he was introduced as Sibur reader. So he's a bit older, about like 45 years old, manager of production efficiency. And he's like our main target audience. He has technical background. He's engineer, and is not that creative, and he operates with numbers and figures. So as you can see through our target audience, we through this target audience, we also trying to give the message to our employees that they don't need to speak English fluently. They can start with one capacity, for example, with reading. So we understand, for example, that for our production manager, production efficiency manager, Sergej, it's very difficult, for example, start speaking English. Or for example, writing English. And for that reason, we identified, we reformulated our learning goal for him, for this target audience, that we expect from him only reading the probably the benchmarks, best practices in the industry, and to understand probably to use vocabulary, to use dictionary, to get understanding what he's reading, but at least is a first step. So we also were thinking in from the employee point of view, that we expected to make progress in English step by step. So it's impossible to become fluent in all 4 aspects of English. That's why we divided it through 4 heroes with 4 different capacities. What we did next? Next, we introduced our communication campaign. Of course, most of the campaign was run digital, but we didn't refuse also the traditional instruments such as, for example, articles in our local newspaper, interviews with our top managers, which we published on our internal social network, and also we printed out some roll-ups, and the rest of our activities, communication activities, we run digital. That means that we created the website, we made a lot of mailings, we made a lot of videos, short videos, like fun videos for 1-2 minutes, to engage the employees in English learning. This is example of our communication campaigns, and we already launched 2 stages of our communication campaign. Some of them you can see that something is written in Russian language, and we started the first our campaign through understanding the need, why our employees need to learn English. And we had our communication messages were mainly focused why they need English. So we had the screensavers, we created the videos, interviews with our top managers, printed the articles in our newspaper, and we launched this campaign for very intensive through 3 weeks. In 3 months, we launched the second campaign, already setting up the personal goals. So you can see on the left that all our 4 heroes are trying to set up the goal. And you can also see that, of course, I have to say that we were mainly focusing as an instrument of learning English in this campaign on the online resource of goFLUENT, because we were trying to give the understanding to our employees that this is on your fingerprints. It's very easy. You can access from any place 24 hours on the platform, and you can start learning English. And you don't have any limitations. You don't have to feel shy, embarrassed. You can ask any questions. We have also goFLUENT has also the team of online consultants who can support you during your online journey. And this made very safe feeling to our employees that learning English is safe. It's accessible 24 hours a day, and they really can do that, because during the first communication campaign, we already got understanding why they need it, and second, we started to set the goal, because initially we understand that to set the goal of why our employees need to learn English without understanding why they need it, it's mostly useless. So how we launched our campaign? Of course, we used the gamification. So we created the website Sibur Story, a special website where we launched the game during the 3 weeks with 9 tasks. So we focused on different skills of learning English, and each task was introduced by one of our heroes. And after every task, we were giving the tips to our employees that you can learn English by these methods, and of course you can upgrade your knowledge on goFLUENT online platform. And that was very necessary also to show that this is it has very easy access. It's a great bonus, and it's a great opportunity to upgrade your skill. So we found out that this gamification engagement in this storyline, in this self-identification with the heroes, and with especially with the target audience where you recognize yourself, it was very, very appealing. And even some employees that were very super skeptical, and they never believed that they can learn English, they found it very fun because there were a lot of discussions in the office. There were a lot of traditional and digital instruments of communication, and the office was full of signs of our Sibur story. And what were the results? So the most interesting part is the results. What we found out. First of all, we increased the number of registrations on goFLUENT platform, because going back on the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that when we just launched the platform, we had only about like 250 registration a month. But during 3 weeks of campaign, this number of registrations increased almost like more than 3 times, and we got 800 registrations. And in each communication campaign, in this storyline gamification of 3 weeks, 3,000 employees actively took part. Moreover, we have just visitors who were looking on this game but not participating. They were just browsing, and this was about like 30%, 27% of employees. And we have to say that it was a great success. And after these 2 communication campaigns, we got a lot of positive feedback. And here, just as an example, I would like to share you the original reviews, original feedback from our employees. I have to say that even employees who had a pre-intermediate level of English, and I have to say that most of our employees in general in the company, the general level of English is about pre-intermediate, low intermediate level, and they're already able to write probably very simple text, but they can already express their opinion. And it was very appealing to us, and we understood that we found this right way to appeal every target audience. Now I would like to also to save some time for the questions. That's why I would like to move to the conclusions that we made during our communication campaign, and from our initiative of learning English in the company. First of all, you have to promote English as a key competitive advantage. And the employees need to understand why they need to learn English. For us, as an employer, of course, it's obvious, but there are a lot of target audiences in the company, and they have different understanding, and probably they don't have the understanding why English is a key competitive advantage. And we have to reassure that everybody is understanding the goal equally. Secondly, we have to motivate employees through setting personal goals. So there is cannot be such a thing as like a general general goal for everybody. It doesn't work. So we have to define the goals very personally, to understand the limitations and to work with them. Then we have to focus on self-learning and self-awareness of each employee, and we don't have to sell only the benefits that the access to online platform in-class learning is a great benefit. No, this is a responsibility and self-awareness of an employee. It's not a responsibility of the company, it's a responsibility of the employee. Then to engage the employees, the most effective instrument, as we found out, is the engagement through gamification. And here works very efficiently communication campaign. And also, if we would like to approach all target audience in the company, we have also to focus, we have to balance on traditional and digital instruments in communication, because some people are very focused and they receive information only from social networks, from online application of goFLUENT, for example. But some of them are very traditional. They prefer the fixed computer, and they prefer the papers, the newspaper in paper version, not digital. And we also have to take into account this mindset. At that moment, I would like to thank you, everybody, for your attention, and I will be glad to answer your questions. So are there any questions? So can we start with a question? So where I can see the questions? I see. I see the question from the chat. Do you still have face-to-face language training, or it was fully moved to distance learning with the implementation of goFLUENT platform? Well, it's a good question. As I was saying, we were trying to focus on both traditional and digital instruments. And when we just launched the goFLUENT platform in early 2018, we were launching the whole year. Both in-class learning, face-to-face learning, and we were providing access to the online platform and online classes of goFLUENT. Because we understood and we've seen a lot of resilience of immediately switch on online learning. But now this year, so now we have the situation that everybody is staying home and most of our workers are working from home. At the moment, we are launching only online learning. online learning and to giving access to our employees to the goFLUENT platform. Moreover, oh, sorry, some technical problem. No. Moreover, at the moment we are launching the number of webinars with goFLUENT to our employees once a week, where we trying to explain and to show all the opportunities of learning English on the goFLUENT platform to our employees. So this is also one of the engagement instruments to support, not just give an access and to forget, and to implying that employees are active themselves. This is also the weekly webinar is an instrument of engagement to encourage the employees and to remind them that they can learn English with goFLUENT. Other questions? So, are there any other questions? So I'm trying to understand how to.
Yes, Anastasia, I see a couple more questions.
Can you please read me the questions from the questions section, because I cannot see them, sorry.
Sure. The question is goFLUENT platform integrated into your learning management system?
This is a good question. At the moment, we are trying to upgrade our learning management system, and we are working on that right now. We are trying to integrate it in our future LMS system that we are implementing, and of course we see a great benefit of this integration, that it can be one sign-in to the employees is like one access to the platform, to LMS and both to goFLUENT platform.
Okay, thank you. There is another one.
Yes, can you please read it for me?
Sure. Is goFLUENT platform proving to be an effective instrument to encourage learning self-awareness among your employees?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely, yes, it's a very good question, but I have to say it doesn't work itself. So if you launch if you buy a platform, you launch it and just send one email to employees, just get an access. It doesn't work like that. No, it works. Well, it works during probably first 6 months, but then later on you have to create communication campaigns, some engagement, gamification, whatever, to remind the employees that it's important. Now with this self-isolation period, we are launching the webinars, as I have been saying before, once a week, and this really creates self-awareness, because we remind all the time to employees that there is a platform, that there is somebody who is supporting you, that it's very important for the employees to understand that there is somebody behind. There is, I don't know who, it might be a learning consultant, a mentor, a teacher, whoever, who reminds you smoothly to understand, to learn English, and etc. So it works, but with the support of the Corporate University of Learning Function itself. It works during the first 6 months. Later on, you have to put to put some efforts on that.
Okay, I think we have time to answer a couple more. Let me
Yes,
see.
for sure.
Is there any prize if the participants meet the learning goal, or if any punishment for people who can't meet their learning goals?
It's a very good question. Right now, we had really hot debates in the company on that issue, really hot debates. And we decided that English is a need. It's not a benefit. It's one of the basic competencies nowadays, especially the challenges that we are facing entering the global market. And that's why we don't have any punishments. We don't have any bonuses, benefits who don't meet the requirements. Of course, we have kind of a mutual agreement. It's a mutual understanding that people who don't speak English and who don't learn English, they have career limitations. And through our stories, through our communication campaign, we always try to show our success stories. For example, employees who were learning English, it was not their obligation, it was their wish, it was their opportunity. They were promoted in their career because, as I was saying, that we also operating in international offices. We have very interesting projects, and we are a very ambitious company. And everybody who would like to, for example, to rotate inside the company, to get a promotion in the company, this is kind of a self-understanding. There is no punishment, so our main goal is not to oblige people to learn, but to give understanding and to create this self-awareness.
Okay, thank you, Anastasia. Another one. Thank you for sharing. Can you share more on how do you leverage the interview result? Do you recommend course based on their needs?
Well, I cannot say that we recommended everybody. Something very specific, but we identified several, like the main factors of motivating people, demotivating. We understood their level and their basic difficulties which they were facing learning English, and we were making the recommendations. Also, we created the recommendations with goFLUENT expert consultant. How to, for example, start learning English from the scratch, also with the instruments of platform goFLUENT. So we also created a list of recommendations that they have to follow, and we also give this send these recommendations, mail these recommendations to the employees. That is, for example, for most of them was a surprise that they had to do the homework, because they had a mindset that it was already enough to attend the classes twice a week. So during their free time, twice a week, and it was like it was a finding for them. Really, they need to exercise daily to learn not just words but phrases, and we were creating these recommendations step by step. So we are launching this campaign almost for 2 years, and every I have to say every quarter, yes, every 3 months, we are trying to introduce the new concept. So we are trying to give information step by step.
Thank you, Anastasia. I would be surprised if there were no questions about your 4 heroes, and these are actually my favorites, and I specifically like the way that you targeted English learning, not to all basically in order to embrace the unbraceable, but you specified typical heroes who represent some big population within your organization and created those 4 heroes. So thank you for the presentation. Did you design your heroes by your own, or you used external provider? Also, how did you create gamification activities? Can you please comment on that?
Can you please repeat about gamification activities? I didn't hear you well.
The question was, how did you create gamification activities?
Okay, yes, understood. We invited the provider, the designer, to create this, to create the heroes. But this is a very common practice in our company to identify, to introduce any communication. For example, before we had the big campaign of career promotion, the big campaign of safety regulations, as we're an industrial company, so this is our key value. And we always try to introduce the heroes, because if we introduce just speaking like a head like me, or our board management, so guys, it's so important to learn English, blah 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 blah, so it doesn't work. So for that reason, we found out that it's very effective and very appealing to use this visualization to create different heroes. And you can also see that our heroes are designed according to all our company values and our company colors. And how we did the gamification, so we were launching the storyline. We were creating, we created a number of stories. For example, Stepan, this young guy, was always in embarrassing situation and business trips, and had some difficulties in communication with colleagues. And the task of our participant was to help Stepan to get out of this situation. For example, we also created the legend that our main hero, our main engineer on the production site, he's trying to read the instructions on the production site on the new equipment, and he doesn't have the access to the interpreter. It takes 1 week to translate, and we have to help him how to understand the instructions. So we were trying to think about the real life situations of our heroes, and it was very, very appealing to our employees.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. I think we are running out of time right now, and well, just double checking. It wasn't the last question that has come in, so we commit ourselves to get back to each of you separately with an answer. Well, with that, I'm going to close. Hope you enjoyed this session. I'm going to thank Anastasia, thank all of you for joining today. Hope you had an informative hour. We'll send you the recording of the webinar shortly after. So thanks again. Have a great day. Most importantly, stay safe. We're there to help you. Keep thinking about how you can have a greater impact on your learning programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. Thank you, goFLUENT, for organizing. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye.